Thank you very much for that kind introduction. I appreciate it a great deal. Madam President-elect, friends and colleagues, and our distinguished guests, it's an honor to be speaking to you today on this year's celebration of International Women's Day. I especially wanted to be with you because I believe that women in Iran deserve our support and greater international recognition as they take on and challenge the brutal theocracy in Iran. This is a regime that treats half of its own population, the women, in such an appalling way by depriving them not only of their fundamental rights and freedom, but also of their dignity. It's a regime that cannot be trusted. And I especially wanted to highlight today the case of Nazanin Zaghari Ratcliffe, someone who lives very close to my constituency and has been unjustly imprisoned by the regime. Now she'd served her sentence, it was expected that she would be released to leave the country, but no. The regime cannot be trusted, its judiciary cannot be trusted, and the mullahs especially cannot be trusted. But in February, just a month ago, we are reminded that the regime's destabilizing activities are no longer confined within Iran and the Middle East, but has now reached Europe in the form of state terrorism. This has resulted with an Iranian diplomat being sentenced to 20 years in Belgium for a possible or potential terrorist murder, and most of all for plotting an attack on the Iranian resistance gathering in Paris. Several of my colleagues and myself actually attended the conference, and we are very concerned and frankly annoyed that this individual was able to do this. And we continue to press our government to take actions against the regime. Just last week, the NCRI revealed new information about the regime's Abadeh nuclear site, one of the two sites in Iran where the nuclear watchdog has found anthropogenic uranium particles. This is according to the latest report by the International Atomic Energy Authority back in February. We know now that the regime has blocked access to these sites to the IAEA inspectors. The regime has not answered the agency's questions relating to the possible presence of nuclear material at these locations. This shows that the UK and the E3 must snap back all UN sanctions and the reinstatement of all 6 previous UN Security Council resolutions against the regime in Tehran. The UK must also work with our European and American allies to refer the regime's human rights violations and terrorist acts to the United Nations Security Council, with the aim of holding those responsible for these atrocities to account in an international tribunal. By coupling human rights, terrorism, and nuclear concerns in this way, the West can address all the serious concerns with the Iranian regime with the same strategy, which is required and was missed last time in the run-up to the 2015 nuclear deal. Furthermore, the international community must press the regime to accept the UN human rights experts visiting Iran and the Iranian prisons to investigate the reported cases of torture and extrajudicial killings and meet with political prisoners and the detained protesters. This is possible if it is pursued with the same determination and firmness with which we pursue IAEA inspections at Iranian nuclear sites. In this regard, I agree with the NCRI President-elect, Mrs. Madam Rajavi, who said, efforts to contain the regime's nuclear program will not succeed without firmness against violations of the human rights in Iran, the eviction of the regime from the Middle East, and the dismantling of its missiles program. So if we all want to prevent the regime, to stop them from acquiring nuclear weapons, the UK and our allies must first make sure that the women and the Iranian people enjoy their fundamental rights and freedoms instead of offering the regime incentives and sanction relief that only pave Tehran's way to acquire nuclear weapons. We can do this. We've seen today there are many voices strong enough and succinct enough to ensure that the regime is fundamentally changed. And that change will come. Sometimes it seems far away, but I'm sure that one day it will. Thank you.